What's cracking, guys? Bruce Madsen here, your host show, Metro Scout Fantasy Football. We are continuing with this prospect profile series. Today we're talking about Jameson Williams, wide receiver from Alabama, formerly from Ohio State. Four-star recruit coming out of high school, ranked 13th among all wide receivers in his 2019 recruiting class. Then went to Ohio State, did almost nothing there, caught 15 passes in 2 seasons. Then he dipped out, hit the transfer portal, went to Alabama. Then he blew up, catching 79 passes for 1,572 yards and 15 touchdowns. I'm going to stop it right there. Many people are going to look at that as a negative, that he couldn't compete with Garrett Wilson, that he couldn't compete with Chris Olave. Look at it this way, though. Flip the script. Ohio State wasn't making the best decisions this year. They did not have the best season. They struggled with Tulsa. They struggled with some teams they shouldn't be struggling with. They lost to Michigan. Wasn't a good year for Ohio State, and maybe they should have gave Jameson Williams some added looks. Look at it that way. Another thing you want to look at it, this is a positive because Williams has some self-awareness. He's willing to bet on himself. He's willing to enter the portal, and he did not go to no junk school where it was easy for him to start. He went to Alabama. He tested himself, and then he blew up, broke out instantly with the team, averaged 3.11 yards per route run, 9.1 yards after the catch per reception, and was really nasty on film. His hands are strong. They are vice grips when the ball's in the air. He's dangerous after the catch, probably the most dangerous wide receiver with the ball in his hands in all of college football. That's going to help him out in the next level. He's a very fluid route runner, and that's something people don't talk about in his game, but he knows how to sell his routes. He can stop on a dime. He's good at making those cuts with limited drift, and he creates separation with quickness. He's not only just fast, but he has the short area quickness to move laterally to make the separation happen. He also tracks the ball well when it's in the air. Everybody wants a player comp for these players. That's what people like. They want to compare these players, but it's really hard sometimes, and I'm not the guy that gives you comps. One thing, I think player comps are lazy, but I also like giving comps on the other hand because for some reason, just giving that comp allows some people who, when it comes to traits, the traits, it just doesn't click with them, but you give them the comp and it does. But I got a weird comp for you here. If you take the explosiveness, the top end speed of Jalen Waddle, Henry Ruggs, we're talking Alabama receivers here, put them in a jug, just put them in there, and then you take the craftiness of Jerry Jeudy and Devonta Smith, mix it together, put that in a jug, shake it up real good, pour it out, you're going to get Jameson Williams because he is crafty, he runs good routes, but he also has top-end speed and burst. That's how I can really describe it. There's not many wide receivers like that at the NFL level, and really, comps are hard to really do because really no one's really compares to each other. These players are kind of like snowflakes. But let's go over to the ACL. Let's talk about that issue real quick. I'm not concerned about that at all. ACLs are not really a thing anymore. They catch that injury, they're out for the year, they come back the next year, and that's very typical this day and age. A decade or so ago, it's a death knell, maybe even a career ender, maybe knocking you back a few seasons, but here, no. He's going to be back sooner than later. He's going to be a first-round pick, and he's going to be a first-round pick in rookie drafts. Not only is he going to be a first-round pick in rookie drafts, but I think he's going to be a tremendous value considering where you're going to get him, mid-portion or in the back half of that first round, and considering you're paying higher price tags for the top receivers, you got a guy who just got 1,500 yards, probably has 4.3 speed, very explosive with first-round draft capital that you can pay a mid to late round, first round rookie pick on, and in Superflex, that is guaranteed to be a back end of the first round because those quarterbacks are going to dilute him back. Maybe even if a running back or two bumps up, you maybe even get him at like the 201, 202 range in Superflex because remember, we had guys like Trey Sermon bump up in the first round last year. We're probably going to have some ancillary jabronis jump up the boards like we do every year who fall in third or fourth round. People fall in love with them. they bumped him up in draft value. It happens all the time, and it's going to elude a guy like Williams in the early second round, back off of the first round type of deal. 112, 201. I look for him to slip back a little bit. 1, the ACL. 2, someone's going to get bumped up. That just happens. That just happens every year. Someone's going to get bumped up. Someone's going to get drafted probably like the 4th round. They are projected to be the starter for their new NFL team, and that bumps a guy like Jameson Williams, David Bell, those latter wide receivers that are still good, back in that first round, back to that early portion of the second round rookie drafts. Happens all the time. We get that, and that's going to create some value. The only thing different is if that doesn't happen, but it probably is, considering we have a lot of running backs who are like backup caliber, but have the potential to be a little bit more than that, considering it's team thick with these running backs. We got a lot of 215 to 220 pounders who are mid-rounders that could really shake things up in value here in the next few months. But I like Jameson Williams as a prospect. Also like him as a value. Like if you don't know what to do with your rookie picks and you want to get some picks in 2023 or you want to trade back, he's a guy to target for, because you're going to get a wide receiver who could blow up at the next level because he's got the goods to do so, and he's at a cheap price point. If you don't like him, don't go after him. If you like some of the other wide receivers, you got plenty to go after, but he does have some specs to make him a fantasy asset going forward. When I look at his range of outcomes for fantasy, for Dynasty, it's all over the board. 1, he only got 1 season of top-tier production. It was his year 3 year. Metric-wise, it's not really great. However, we have context for that, so you take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, there's some guys who are into metrics that won't do that. Also, another thing is the ACL injury. And not the injury itself, but maybe that pushes back his timetable of actual development with his new team. Also, we don't know where he's going to go. It could be a situation-dependent thing. There might have been some issues at Ohio State that prevented him from moving up the depth chart as quick as he wanted to. That may transition to the NFL level. There's just a lot of different things that could happen. He's not bulletproof, but he's a very good wide receiver prospect who could be a wide receiver 1 at the next level, but he could float back and forth in that wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 bubble area as well. And I talk about the bubble area because there's like 50 to 80 wide receiver 2s or 3s that people say in Dynasty, and he could be floating around that most of his career. That's probably the most likely scenario, with him giving you some production at the wide receiver 1 spot. I don't really see him busting, but that is a scenario for just about any player. But I think the odds of him busting are very low, but it's not outside the probabilities, considering when you look at his metric profile from a production standpoint, that is in the cards. But I feel like he has a good chance of being a producer in fantasy for quite a while. But that's all I got for Jameson Williams. He's one of my favorite prospects to study in this class. I like wide receivers. Wide receivers is probably my best and my most accurate thing to forecast and to value in Dynasty Fantasy Football. I'm usually pretty straight on with those. But I want to thank you for watching the show, sticking with me. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. Every subscription matters. Fuels me to keep going over this content, grinding the tape, grinding the metrics. Not many people do that. They either go straight tape, they go straight metrics, or they're not good at either or. I'm giving you all that and a bag of chips. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you next time.